I had visited the Holy Monastery of Stavronikita, along with Pavlos Kontakakis, Basilis's brother, and some other friends. Both Georgos Dialynis and I were wayward souls. Georgos had even been involved with Sai Baba. Sai Baba had helped him make a lot of money and build a significant fortune in New Delhi. At some point, the elders at the Holy Monastery of Stavronikita encouraged us to visit some ascetics, and among others, we also went to Elder Paisios. When we arrived there, we rang the bell, and Georgos started provoking Elder Paisios by praising Sai Baba, Krishna, Salmuti, and others. He provoked him further by calling him lazy. Georgos claimed that Sai Baba, with a wave of his hand, could produce a Rolex watch or even heal a person. He said, "We can move mountains," and asked the elder if he could move a 5-cubic-meter rock. Elder Paisios was visibly annoyed, as he couldn't tolerate the situation. He couldn't deal with us effectively because we were influenced by demonic forces, especially Georgos, so the elder, wanting to bring us to our senses, decided to help us. Georgos then tightened his focus, attempting to say a secret prayer to shatter the rock. Despite his great efforts, he couldn't achieve anything. Then, for purely pedagogical reasons, Elder Paisios made the sign of the cross over the rock 3 times, saying, "In the name of the holy, consubstantial, indivisible, and life-giving Trinity," and on the 3rd time there was a loud boom. The rock shattered as if there had been dynamite inside. When we returned to the monastery, the people there were alarmed. I was confused because, although I understood the truth, everything I had previously believed was overturned, and I needed to process this. Countless discussions followed at the monastery. All the conversations continued into the night in the elder's cell with him and others. At one point, a hieromonk revealed some demonic forces that Georgos had inside him. I also gave my testimony, stating that indeed the demonic forces within us were many and powerful, explaining why this was the case. Then Georgos changed his voice, and it was the demon speaking through him. It was a long discussion that lasted many hours. At some point we had to go down for midnight prayer. After some time, I left the group because I needed rest. I ran and sat in a stall in the chapel. While I was sitting there, I heard some commotion coming from the narthex where the fathers were with Georgos. I went to see what was happening because I could hear shouting. I saw 2 people pulling Georgos, while behind him the monks were pushing him to make him approach and venerate the icon of the Virgin Mary in the narthex. Georgos got about 50 centimeters away from the icon but couldn't get any closer. No force could push him to touch the icon, and that's when things got really serious. I repeat that all of this happened a few hours after the event with St. Paisios. The demonic forces had flared up and were rebelling. The abbot came with other ascetics, but they couldn't accomplish anything. By morning, we found ourselves outside on a bench, and the elder ordered that all the holy relics be brought out and a blessing ceremony performed. I liked this because I had never seen it before, so we went outside with the banners, and the elder read prayers for both me and Georgos. At one point, during the sprinkling with holy water, a drop fell on Georgos's head. At that moment, Georgos started screaming, but not with his own voice. He stripped completely, even removing his underwear, and started running into the forest, shouting that he was burning. At that point, I completely broke down. We were all shaken and decided to leave. I wanted to leave too because, as you can understand, I was exhausted and needed to deal with many things from my past. We made it to Athens. We had to restrain Georgos both during the drive and inside the car. At dawn, Georgos jumped headfirst off an apartment building. The newspaper of the time reported the incident at Mount Athos and the fact that he committed suicide. I was a witness to all of it from the beginning. Of course, I didn't want to go to the cemetery afterward. for obvious reasons.